What's going on, guys? As you can see, we have a new format today, and this has been requested through you guys on YouTube. And what do we think, me and my partner, my brother, Chris Sassouni, who is the GOAT of mixed martial arts and boxing? So we're going to go over that today, maybe have a little debate. And then again, if you want us to do this again, we're going to try to do this every week. So stay tuned for it. But Chris, what's going on, my brother?
What's going on, man? Yeah. So, I've definitely had this argument a bunch of times. And, I think the very first one to go over for boxing is, I really do believe that there's only one GOAT, and that's Floyd Mayweather. And I know a lot of people hate on that. The thing is that Floyd Mayweather fought over 26 world champions, and he fought more world champions than any other boxer in history. So people try to say that his quality of fighter wasn't there, or these different type of things, but people got to also understand that Floyd Mayweather in all of those fights never even touched the canvas. Yes, there's that debate where his hand touched the canvas for like a second, but never did he take a knee. Never did he take a punch where he got rocked. Truly, like throughout history, there's one punch where we talk about, and that's the Shane Mosley punch. And it's funny that people even bring it up. Like, you got to be so great where people talk about the one single time that you were punched. For all the other boxers, we can't even name it because, they've been hit all these different times, but there's this one moment. And I think that really shows the greatness of Floyd Mayweather and who he is.
Yeah, I mean, his record speaks for itself, and people can argue to say that he picked his own fights. But when it comes down to boxing, if we're talking about the sport of boxing, he is the best boxer in the sport by far, in my opinion, as well. His work ethic shows it, and then also his record shows it. So I can remember one fight that it looked like it could go the other way, which was Zab Judah, which was probably the hardest fight that he's ever had to go through. Other than age and everything else that played a part. He was young then. So really seeing that, you could tell that he had to dig deep, and he finished the fight. And, obviously all that crazy stuff happened afterwards. But when it comes down to picking who is the greatest of all time, you have to at least have him in the running. You can say, Muhammad Ali could be one, Mike Tyson could be another, Canelo now could be a part of that conversation. But when it comes down to it, Floyd Mayweather takes it, in my opinion. Now, why do you think, let's put it like this. You've been an avid martial arts fan, combat sport fan for a long time. Why did you decide to actually get into, this sport entirely, especially with me, right? You've been working with me for over 5 years. You've been working with some of the elite fighters, helping them understand how to market themselves as a marketer, as a businessman. Why did you decide to really get into this, and what made you, what gave you the drive to get into the combat sport world?
It's kind of like a natural thing in us to want to know how to fight, to know how to defend ourselves, and to be able to do those type of things. So I think there was part of that. And then also at the same time, I think it's just a super entertaining sport. I love the fact that it's a one-on-one match between two people, who work the hardest, who has the most skill. And, I think I watched a lot of the MMA news, a lot of the boxing news. And, a lot of people hate saying, oh, he fell in love with fell in love with MMA because of Conor McGregor. For a lot of people, they did fall in love with MMA because of Conor McGregor. But that's just the lead into the sport. But next thing you know, you start to learn about all of the champions that are in the rankings. Then you start to learn about the other people, and you start to get deeper and deeper. And the next thing you know, you're looking at multiple different fight organizations, and you're paying attention to all of it. So, for me, it was really just a love that grew. And I also really saw that MMA was really growing at the time. Like when me and you first really, started working together, MMA was definitely on the rise, but not quite as hot as it is right now. And I really just saw that taking place. I was in love with it, and I just thought it would be something dope to do.
Oh, yeah, man. So you would say, especially working with these people, you have the ability, you're an avid fight fan. You're coming from a perspective of a fight fan, which is good. As for me, I'm a little biased towards some of my guys. Obviously, I work with a lot of those fighters, and I was a fighter myself. So it's good to get two perspectives. It's two backgrounds, two different backgrounds. So now if you're looking at boxing, we talked about Floyd Mayweather. Let's go to MMA. Let's go to mixed martial arts as a whole, not just the UFC, but everything. Because you can't just take out ONE FC, because there's a lot of talented fighters in that organization too as well. But who would you think is pound for pound the greatest of all times when it comes to mixed martial arts?
Once again, I think to some degree it's a clear-cut answer. I personally believe that it is John Jones. I understand people say things about the steroid accusations. And ironically, I used to love to make the argument all the time. And like I would always clown my friends about it. But he fought during the pre-USADA era and he dominated during that time. But he was also fighting guys that were on steroids themselves. But now he's proven himself again because he has came back. He has fought, post-USADA. And, he's continuing to win. And not only is he winning, but he's also moving up in weight classes. And, I know a lot of people like to say maybe Khabib, but when you look at John Jones' list of it's like literally world champion, like it's insane. And he's been doing it since he was like 19 years old. To hang in the game for that long and to stay undefeated, Khabib was the most dominant fighter for sure. The guys that he fought couldn't do anything. They were completely stuck in their positions. That's for sure. But Khabib only fought 4 championships, I believe, 4 to 5 champions in comparison to John Jones, which is like a much longer list.
I will have to agree, but also say that this is a very hard subject matter because there's so many other demands inside of a mixed martial arts sport. So to look at it from an overall perspective, yeah, John has been the most dominating, right? Just overall, Khabib has been dominating, but he had a short stint, right? He hasn't really defended his title as much as John. He hasn't come back from certain situations and be so successful and be dominant and make it look easy too as well, the way John does it, even though Khabib is top notch. So 1-1, I would say, his slight edge over Khabib, but Khabib is definitely in the running. GSP is definitely in the running. Fedor Emelianenko, definitely in the running. But if I were to go to my top 5, John's going to be number 1 out of that top 5. Now, when it comes down to skill set, when it comes down to managing stresses, when it comes down to cage control, and then just drawing people into his game, and then being so versatile in there, he takes the cake. So, with Khabib, we all know what he's trying to do, right? And for the most part, he will suck you into his game and then just drown you. We've seen that plenty of times. With John, he has multiple skill sets. So he can take you out standing up. He can take you out on the ground. He can transition. He's very athletic. He has the length. So when you're looking at it from not just from a mental standpoint and from a skill set, his physicality is dominating too as well. So that does play a role. Fedor was a dominating figure and a very interesting individual per se. Obviously he had that Russian, stone look to him, and he would basically just demoralize guys in there, and it would be over in 1 second if he could lay that shot down on you. But, when I look at it from a broad perspective, we have to look at John as being the most dominant. So we're there on that one too as well. Now, who would be a runner-up in that perspective?
Somewhere between GSP and Khabib for sure. I think that Khabib's dominance is very crazy. And the fact that everyone does know exactly what he's going to do. Like they know what he's going to do. They spend all of their time training for what he's going to do, but there's nothing that they can do to stop it. And it's just like, that's a very impressive thing, So yeah, for me, I think that Khabib and GSP. I mean, you also got to throw in Anderson Silva as well. I remember being young and watching those fights. And I mean, he was also such a dominant guy for such a long period of time. So, I think for me, it's probably John Jones, Anderson, GSP, Khabib, kind of debatable between the two,
I forgot to mention Anderson Silva too as well. Can't leave him out. So for sure.
Yeah. And, one thing I wanted to just add real quick to the John Jones is that one thing that I heard him say is that, he beat the old generation of fighters when he was a young kid. Then he beat his generation of fighters. And now he's beating the new generation of fighters. And like I said, that's so impressive to be able to do and to be able to have that type of, longevity to your career and to your skill set. And so I think he's definitely the most well-rounded fighter that there is. Like you said, he can beat you on the feet. He can beat you on the ground. And, John Jones has a way to always make sure that he gets the dub.
All right, guys. So there you have it. Those are our picks, greatest of all time, MMA and boxing. If you have your picks, let me know. Comments down below. You guys can argue it out all you want. But that's our picks, man. So live with it, I guess. If you want to keep this thing going, if you like this style, just let us know by hitting the like button. And if you haven't done so, make sure you subscribe and hit the notification. See you again next time. Peace.